Two things I want to say real quick. Number one, join my Discord. Number two, sorry this video is a little late. I got sick on Saturday and had no time to edit because I was asleep for 12 hours. Okay, bye, love you.
You're getting put in the box, little man.
Wow. In Forsaken, there are characters, and one of those characters is c00lkidd. c00lkidd, spelled like a 12-year-old trying to make an edgy username, is one of 5 available killers in Forsaken, and probably the most straightforward of all the killers, in my opinion anyways. While some killers have abilities that scale or require precise timing to use to their fullest, c00lkidd kinda just f***s stuff up. He has 3 main abilities, being Corrupt Nature, Walk Speed Override, and Pizza Delivery. Starting with Corrupt Nature, c00lkidd throws a slow-moving projectile that does 15 damage and inflicts slowness 1 on the victim for 4 seconds, along with displaying their outline for 10 seconds. Following that is Walk Speed Override. c00lkidd will perform a short 0.2 second long windup before doing a lunge and launching himself forward in a straight, unsteerable line for 1.3 seconds. If he collides with a survivor during this lunge, he'll deal an initial 30 damage, knocking the survivor back, along with inflicting Burning 1 for 8 seconds, dealing an additional 15 damage for a total of 45. This makes Walk Speed Override c00lkidd's big ticket heavy hitting move. If c00lkidd hits a wall, or nothing at all, bars, he'll perform a small stumble and be stunned for a short, undocumented amount of time, along with having unique voice lines for each instance. c00lkidd's third and final ability is Pizza Delivery. This ability spawns 2 delivery bots who will chase down the nearest survivor. If they hit a survivor, they will inflict 15 damage along with slowness 2 and burning 1 for 3 seconds, adding an additional 5 damage for a total of 20 per bot. After they perform a hit, they'll slowly fade away and disappear, alongside displaying the survivor's outline for 7.5 seconds. If they don't come into contact with the survivor within 30 seconds, then they'll fade away in the same manner as they do when they hit the survivor. And that's actually it for c00lkidd. All of his moves are very straightforward. The projectile does damage and applies a status effect. The lunge does damage and applies a status effect. And the summon, you guessed it, does damage and applies a status effect. No weird scaling or gimmicks to be found, which makes c00lkidd one of the most new player friendly killers in the game. So, with such simple abilities, surely c00lkidd's gameplay is just as simple, right? Now, despite what I just said about c00lkidd being simple, I more so meant that his moves are easy to grasp at a glance. However, to use him at his fullest, he's anything but simple. c00lkidd is what's classified as a rushdown killer, which basically just means that he likes to hound people as quickly and as heavily as possible. As a result, c00lkidd can take you from full health to dead in a matter of seconds. Like seriously, look at some of these clips, it's ridiculous.
You will not be missed. Oui. I've got you.
Absolutely absurd damage. However, you won't get people just serving their health bars up on a platter like this most of the time. To really start playing c00lkidd effectively, we have to look at his second ability, Walk Speed Override, which is the absolute backbone of his entire gameplay loop, being able to do massive damage very quickly. To use Walk Speed to its fullest though, you're gonna need one of 2 things. Either A, absurdly good prediction and aiming skills, or B, a strong use of misdirection. If you can predict your enemy's path and intercept them consistently, then by all means, go ahead. However, if you miss, you're more likely than not gonna end up on the other side of the map at a much bigger detriment than you would have if you just chased them. The easier way to catch people with walk speed, and probably the better way honestly, is via misdirection. Chances are, if you use walk speed without looking at the survivor you're targeting until you start flying forward, it's going to be significantly less obvious what you're up to, giving you the element of surprise. Most people won't be able to react in time and will get hit by the walk speed. Another way you can do this is by utilizing guest. Whenever a walk speed override hits a guest's block, the walk speed override doesn't end. you just fly straight through the guest. This means if a guest is standing in front of someone to body block for them, you can usually get away with just walk speeding directly at them because the guest player just can't resist a free block. You'll fly right on past him, straight into the survivor they tried so hard to protect. A third tip for walk speed is to use its absurdly strong knockback to force survivors into bad positions. Into corners, into map hazards, anything negative for them will work. Just try to put them out of position as best you can. Fourth and final tip I have for walk speed specifically is corners. Just like my guest guide, players feel very safe going around corners for some reason. So, a good chunk of the time, if you walk speed after a survivor, as soon as they round a corner, you can usually get a sneaky connection in there. So with all this nonsense about walk speed override, and trust me, there is plenty more to talk about later, hopefully his other two moves are pretty simple, right? No. Not really. Cool Kid's projectile, Corrupt Nature, is absurdly slow and insanely easy to dodge, which means you either have to use it up close and try to flick, or try to snipe people from across the map. Both of these can be pretty painful to hit, however, it does have one saving grace. It's angling. Corrupt Nature can be aimed using your mouse, which may sound pretty mundane at first, but this unlocks a world of possibility for this move. Corrupt Nature is the only projectile in the entire game that can be both aimed and goes through walls, making it extremely versatile. You can throw it behind you without ever turning around. You can throw it upwards to hit people going upstairs. You can hit people through entire structures, and you can even throw it through the floor on maps like Underground War. Its possibilities are really endless. Despite its pretty abysmal speed, Corrupt Nature has the most use cases of any projectile in the entire game, simply because nothing can stop it. Walls can't stop it, elevation can't stop it, hell, not even other survivors can stop it, because yet again, this thing can multi-hit and has infinite pierce. However, Cool Kid turns from a killer that all you can really do is mash your abilities as much as possible to a crazy zoner that rivals even John Doe once you throw his third ability into the mix, pizza delivery. The amount of people I see misusing pizza delivery is staggering, just randomly throwing it out whenever it's off cooldown. But this is the wrong way to use this ability. If you use these bots correctly, you can quite literally force someone to take damage. Because of the minions' pretty janky tracking, you can actually use them in several different ways. A method that I like to use a lot, and something that I've preached about on stream several times. I'm pushing him towards my dummies. He wasted all his stamina getting away from them. Nice. Nice! Oh, he's so dead. Oh my gosh, he just got corralled, bro. He just got corralled. That was crazy. Is a strategy I call corralling. It entails forcing survivors to either run into the Cool Kid or run into the minions. The easiest way to do this is to chase the survivor into a corner, summon your minions, and then just cut them off. This is an extremely effective method and works on even the smartest players if done properly. I mean, sometimes there is literally no way to avoid damage. Another strong way to use your bots is to abuse their aversion to elevation. If you spawn a minion on a different elevation than a survivor, even just a little, for some reason, they just won't move. At all. They'll walk in place, sure, but they won't go anywhere. If you use this knowledge right, you can pretty much turn your minions into John Doe puddles. Except these John Doe puddles move and burn you. This is what I love about Cool Kid. He's such a simple all-arounder with his abilities that it allows him to forge almost any archetype you want. You can play fast and aggressive, getting up close and trying to predict your opponent. You can play methodically and calculated, slowly whittling down your enemy's health and carefully planning and positioning. You can play as a trapper, forcing survivors into lose-lose situations. Segue here. Now we're gonna talk about Cool Kid's tech. Yay! To be honest, Cool Kid after the Slasher update doesn't actually have a lot of tech. There's really only 3 pieces of tech that I'm aware of. First, and probably the one with the most use, is override buffering. I came up with that name myself, so forgive me if there's another name for it, but I haven't seen anyone else talk about this. A very important part of balancing an ability like walk speed override, being a long drawn out charge, is not allowing the user to get stamina back whenever they use it. However, for some reason, Cool Kid just doesn't have this nerf, because as long as you aren't holding sprint when you do, you'll gain all your stamina back with no detriment, as well as getting the distance from walk speed override. For example, in this clip, had I not used override as a buffer for my stamina, I would not have been able to catch this builder man. He 100% would have drank that cola and been all the way across the map again. Moving on to some more niche tech, we have wall riding. This one is a little more well known, but significantly less useful. When using walk speed override, as long as you're moving enough, the game won't stumble you out of it, even if you're touching a wall, which means you can actually use walls to your advantage by basically bouncing off of them or straight up wall running on them. Our last tech is walk speed jumping. On certain maps, most prominently Underground War because of its elevation difference, you can actually use walk speed to jump across these big gaps and snipe people. However, if you thought there weren't a lot of wall riding spots, then prepare to be disappointed because there are even fewer walk speed jump spots, and it will almost never be practical. But if I don't mention it, I know somebody will in the comments. So there you go. Honestly, there isn't much else to be said about Cool Kid at this point. My only big tip for him is to wait for survivors to run out of stamina before you try to use your abilities up close. Trying to go for a raw walk speed override or corrupt nature is pretty difficult unless your opponent is basically not moving. Other than that, I'd mostly just say don't underestimate your minions. They can be just as big of an asset, if not more so than walk speed override. Actually, I do have one more pretty big tip for minions. You can actually spawn them through walls and the floor. If you spawn a minion and it would spawn in the wall, it'll just put it on the other side of it. And if you spawn a minion and it would spawn in the ground, it'll just put it above the ground anyways. So you can do some cheeky stuff with that. In conclusion, Cool Kid is a very strong all-arounder when it comes to killers. He's not insane at anything, but he isn't bad at anything either, making him very flexible, and because he doesn't have a lot of difficult tech, he isn't hard to use to his full potential. If you're trying to learn the basics of playing killer, I highly recommend giving him a try. Thank you so much for watching this guide, I really hope it helped. Please subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed. God, I hate saying that, it's so cringy, dude. With all that being said, I'm gonna go take a nap.